Hi, Oscar. Welcome.
Hi, Ganesh.
Pleasure meeting you. And today I want to really talk about you and coaching.
Yeah.
And the first question I have is why did you decide to become a coach?
Okay. So, Ganesh, there's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is the reason I decided to become a coach was Pradeep Mahapatra. And the long answer is the way it happened, the process of how it happened. And uh, I had a conversation with him around the time that he had moved from being not just a boss, not just a mentor, not just a friend, but all of these things. And he asked me what was I planning to do when I retire. I was about a year or two away from retirement. And he said, uh, what were you planning to do? And I gave him the usual answer that, many of the companies I worked with will give me some assignments, and I'm quite happy to do a series of short assignments right now. And I'll take it from there and see how it goes. So he said, what have you thought about coaching? And I knew that he had started CFI at that time. And so I said, no, I haven't thought about coaching and I need to know more about it. And so he gave me some stuff to read. And I read all that and went back to him. And then I said, yes. But then I asked him, why did you ask me the question? Whether have you thought of coaching? And he said, well, I noticed that in your role as CEO, you very often use certain HR practices, which you like, and you use it from a business perspective. And that's why I thought you may be interested in coaching.
Ah,
And so that's what actually got me thinking. And I said, if I can use this from a business perspective and help people, from a business and perspective, that'll be great. So I enrolled, and in
mm,
2009 to 2010, I did the program. From 2010 to 2012, I was still working. Uh, uh, and therefore, I had the good fortune of doing some pro bono work
mm,
with my promoter's wife's companies.
mm.
So I was working for this promoter, and his wife also ran a couple of companies. So I coached their COO and their CEO, and then CFI, of course, gave me two interns to work with, and so that kept my skill
Right,
going. And then
right,
finally, from 2012, when I retired completely, I decided to. I got my first paid
right,
coaching
right.
assignment, and it went on from there.
Excellent. Very good. So one of the things often not very well understood, Oscar, and I'd like your help in answering is what does it take to actually establish oneself as a coach? What did it take you? I'm sure it wasn't like a cakewalk. So what does it take for you to actually establish yourself as a coach?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think the first, when I look back at some of the work that I did in the first two or three assignments, I would probably shudder to think that I did that. But one of the things that I did was to go back after every assignment, make elaborate notes, and
Hmm.
ask myself what went well and what didn't go well.
Hmm.
A. B, those were the days of face-to-face coaching, so you had a lot of interaction with not just the coachee, but the people around him,
Hmm.
and to generally ask questions about how we were doing. So
Hmm.
that helped. And
Hmm.
over time, as I did more and more, coaching cases, I began to realize that this is actually um, you got to put in some mindful mileage into the game. It's
Hmm.
not you may know the process, you may know the answers, but it doesn't work that way. You are adjusting to different individuals, different cultures, different needs, etc. So the need to be eclectic, the need to be open, the need to resist all kinds of cookie cutter approaches consciously, and the need to listen very, very deeply. So I would say that was some of the things that I started to work on,
Hmm.
listening very deeply. More than just becoming a better coach, I think the other work one did was one on oneself.
Hmm.
What are the areas, and coaching led me to do a lot of introspection on my own self. So,
Hmm.
what are the things that I do well, and what are the things that I don't do well? What triggers me? What are the things that I can control? What are the things that I can't control? What are the things that cause me stress? What are the things that give me great sense of calm and accomplishment? So I worked on this as
Hmm.
well in parallel, and I found that the combination of the two helps. The ability to work on yourself and the ability to get better and better at the role that you're playing, which is the role of
Right.
a coach. So I found that was good, and then at the same time building relationships with
Hmm.
not just the people you coached, but the people in the organization and so on. And therefore, over time, more assignments started to come in, and from and that's really how it
Awesome.
moved for me. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So one is learning, being open to learn from your experience. Second, a deep sense of reflection,
Mhm.
mindful reflection, as you call, thinking about yourself and what's going on and who am I and what am I bringing into this. There's a lot of self-work is
Involved,
necessary.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It happened over a period of many years, and,
Right.
and, and it's still on. And it
Uh,
is still on. But I think doing the self work and being aware that you need to do self work is important.
yeah. Excellent. Uh, Given the range of work, you work with so many people over these years, Oscar. If you were to look back and say, what do you enjoy most about being a coach?
I think for me, it's the learning which comes from a diversity of interaction. So
Mm,
you're interacting with different industries, different companies, different company cultures, and the company culture has always been a question mark. But I
mm,
found there's a great deal of learning to be had from the interaction with different
mm,
company cultures. Uh, then you have a wide set of interactions with not just the coachee, but the coachee sponsor, maybe a skip boss, and a couple of important peers in that organization, where
mm,
you begin to understand a lot more about the business. I think so. Learning that, understanding that, and feeling comfortable with the variety of
mm,
inputs that come your way, I
mm,
think is an important part, and that's what gives me great joy. So that's one.
mm,
The other thing is the feeling that you may have, in a small way, contributed to the success of
mm.
the person that you're working with. And hearing news about his or her success over time is always something that, again, kind of gives me great joy that maybe in my own way I made a little bit of a difference in the
Mm.
lives of that, on the life of that
Right,
person.
right.
So this is what keeps me going, and the interest, the type of assignment, the results that come out of it is what really keeps me going, and has given me a lot of joy over time and satisfaction.
But I like the way you say it with all humility. That is my small way I have made a difference. So obviously you're comfortable with private victory, right? That's important.
Yeah,
Because no coach is going to stand up on the stage like an Oscar award and Oscar, not you, Oscars
yeah.
award and say, look, I thank my coach for this, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But what I found is those silent wins is what builds a practice in the long run. And
Yeah.
I have had people come to me whom I didn't know at all, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years, who've been referred by somebody who was a friend of somebody, and of course, in the corporate world, there's a well-established network. You do work with a large group and you work with different companies there. But when you move outside the corporate world to, let's say, smaller entrepreneurs and so on, it's a lot of referrals which come in. And that's where the quiet win is a big source of satisfaction.
Right, right. And finally, Oscar, for any aspiring coach who might watch this video, what is your words of advice?
Uh, so the first thing I would say, if you're doing this program, do it to use it. Don't do it to get another qualification. Do
Mm,
it to use it, because this is a skill which gets better. The more you use the skill, the better you get at the game.
mm,
Do it if you're going to use it. The other is, if you're looking to use it as an adjunct or a supplement to maybe consulting or mentoring work that you already do, but where you feel there is a need for this particular dimension to be added on to the work that you do, then do it for that reason. Yeah.
mm,
And really, at the end of the day, you're entering a kind of helping profession. Are you
mm,
comfortable with that? Are you comfortable to be in a helping profession? As different from, let's say, the positions many of us held before we went into this, uh, which was leadership, directiveness, the putting yourself out there in the front, leading from the front, doing all of those things. Uh, are you comfortable with being somebody who's willing to help in the background? And if
mm.
that gives you joy, then yes, you should be doing this. You know.
Yeah, that's wonderful words of advice, Oscar. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and appreciate what you said.
Thanks, Ganesh. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Audio Jungle.